I've been marinating in FM24 for about a month now, and I've got to say, it's feeling pretty good. I'm loving the silky, voluptuous, hot tub love machine vibes I'm getting from Football Manager this year. And as somebody that's played the game every second for the past month, it's time to dive into the new things that you can do in the game this year. Starting, undoubtedly, with the most important one. You can play in Gibraltar. Roll the clip.
Drumroll, please. Number 5 is Gibraltar.
That was from the first YouTube video I ever made, and I clearly was predicting the future. And funnily enough, the thing I was talking about in that video, getting work permits, it still holds true. In Gibraltar, it takes just 3 years to get a work permit as long as you're there continuously. And now that you can manage there, that might be something of particular interest. Now, if you're wondering why is Gibraltar all of a sudden a playable league on Football Manager, that is a tremendous question. I don't really have any clue why. But if you've ever thought about trying to topple the great Lincoln Red Imps who have won every single iteration of the Gibraltarian League since it reformed in 2019, then you can do that. Maybe you're the type of person that just has an itch to manage the second worst team according to club coefficient in all of Europe, ahead of only San Marino. It's a league so small it plays in one stadium, and that one stadium is currently being renovated, at least according to an incredibly large Google rabbit hole I fell down while researching this video. To be fair, the planned new stadium looks great. The Rock still looks better though. Not that one, that one. The second thing that you can now do in Football Manager, you can play a historically accurate game. Now what am I talking about? No, you're not gonna be able to take an Ottoman Empire 11 up against a Roman Empire 11, as much as that would, that's a great video idea.
Well, you see, actually, there's some overlap between the two empires, so it would theoretically be impossible.
You might think I'm imitating some of the comments, but no, I'm actually imitating the other half of my brain. Are we off track? Yes, we are. You can play a historically accurate game, and what I mean by that is instead of the one option, which was the only option that Football Manager always gave you, which was if a transfer had been made in real life and was included in the database, then when you start the database, even if the transfer hadn't happened yet, then the player was already on that team. For example, Football Manager comes out in November, but you start your saves in June. So Football Manager knows all of the moves that are gonna happen in the summer transfer window, and even when you would start your save in June, all of those moves were already made, even though in June they hadn't happened in real life yet. Well, now if you click on this, players will start at the accurate clubs, but then move at the appropriate times. Or if you want Football Manager to re-simulate the previous transfer window at the start of a save, because maybe you didn't like a signing that your club made, you can just do that and not make that signing. Or if you think you can beat Bayern to Harry Kane, do that and then get yourself Harry Kane. But if you need Harry Kane from Wish, that would be me. I look even better, don't I? No, seriously, the Bundesliga Instagram account responded to me saying that they forgot to tag me by saying, congrats on your new profile picture. So I'm not the only one. The third new thing that you can do on Football Manager is actually get rid of players you hate. Actually, they have added a new feature to the game called an intermediary. This is the type of person you call up to facilitate a transfer, and they get a percentage of that transfer. Now, what I was curious to know about is the inclusion of this in the game is obviously because in FM23, transfers were dog water. Get out of here. But in Football Manager 24, you can do this. You can go to transfers, hire an intermediary to sell a player, and even if you're trying to sell that player for $0, it still works. I would assume in real life the way it works is they get a portion of the contract, but here's a few examples of me being able to pull that off on my Twitch save.
So guys that are on the transfer list, we'll start with Vincent Poulet, who is my nightmare. A guy that is here with a large contract when I got here, and I don't like. Even my coaching staff's like, he's a decent player for most Premier Division sides, but, you know, he's 33 and just played a loan out at Dinamo Bucharesti. I'm going to throw out an intermediary offer. I'm going to start offering him out via transfer room for $0 as well. We all have Mohamed Hosseini, who is a good left back, but he is over our foreign player limit, which is why we were trying to move him. Oh, that I love to see that. Immediate offer for Hosseini, no strings attached. They just sign him up for free and take his wage off my hands. Yes. Vincent Poulet, whose transfer has been agreed. We're paying a little bit of his wage, but goodbye, Vincent.
They can sell some players to some pretty random clubs. I mean, one of the clubs that you could sell them to is Verdes FC from, name that flag. Come on, you got it. Belize, thanks for playing. You better Belize that's true. Thank you. You might be wondering how I got my hands on such an awesome shirt. Well, this just went on sale on Sengalo, the official jersey sponsor of this channel. Sengalo partners with smaller clubs around the world to make their cool kits that you wouldn't otherwise have access to available, and they have a big Christmas discount going on right now. This is obviously a perfect Christmas gift for somebody like me that enjoys collecting a bunch of random jerseys. Up to 40% off right now if you check out the link in the description. And we appreciate Sengalo helping support this channel. They are awesome. Thank you, Sengalo. The fourth new thing that you can do on Football Manager is you can play with your old save. This is something from the beginning of my pathological addiction to Football Manager that I have been begging for, and it is finally in the game. It only works from FM23, but now if you buy each Football Manager and port your save into each successive Football Manager game, you'll be able to play the same save forever. I realize some of you only like to play a few seasons in and after that it gets boring, but I'm one of the psychos that is in a rather large group of people that likes to play into the 2040s and the 2050s where everybody is fake and you're just in that world, and this allows you to do that until the end of time, which means the world record for the longest save on Football Manager is definitely going down at some point. I mean, just look at this. This is Football Manager 24. I'll hit the Windows key at the bottom, and that is Taunton. That's right, the same Taunton town I was managing on stream last year. There's Heiko Reinhardt. There's his actual face, because I haven't moved the faces over from FM23, but there he is. Ported into FM24. Same as ever. And all of the options are there. You can hire the intermediaries, you can interact with the players in all the same ways, all the new ways that FM24 allows. Porting your old save in. You just click load game, and then there's an FM23 option right here, and it goes right into the FM23 save files in the same computer, and then it just takes a little bit longer to load up to change things over, and the entire world that you've lived in for the past calendar year can still exist with modern graphics. Well, modern's a stretch, but they're moving to Unity in 25. So the fifth thing that you can now do in Football Manager, you can finally manage like Pep. Well, more like Pep. I mean, you can't have as many heart attacks and tweak your tactics as many times as he does, even though you literally have the ability to pause the game, but you can implement some of Pep's various tactical ingenuities. This sentence makes no sense. You know what I meant. So Football Manager added two things here that make this possible. The inverted fullback, which is essentially the role Kyle Walker plays most of the time, where you're a fullback in defense and then you step in to form a back two or a back three when the team's on attack. As a result, when this kind of back line is going forward, David Bulow in this case would be a wide center back on the right, Brantley Poor would be a wide center back on the left, and Luis Fonseca would be kind of the central center back, while Bahatin Yavuz in this case would be way farther up the field. But they've also added something else. The John Stones role. Obviously, he's not the only guy that does this, but he is certainly the guy that catches the eye the most doing this. That would be a libero. Now, a libero, particularly on support in FM24, can play in a back four. It doesn't need to be a back five, and they will quite literally go flying up the field. I mean, I'm not talking about central mid on attack, woo, you know, flying over the top, but they will step into the midfield and completely step out of the back line. But you can imagine a combination between an inverted fullback and a libero means this guy steps in and that guy steps up. This can obviously have knock-on effects over the rest of your tactic, but to me, as somebody that plays this game obsessively, it has been very freeing. There are just more ways to succeed, and as somebody that plays a lot of different strategy games, shout out to my Paradox people, we suffer together, how you doing? But seriously, as somebody that plays a lot of different strategy games, having more and more ways to succeed just inherently makes a game better. This does that. You can be Pep if you want to with the build-up. You can also line up and play 4-4 lads. I just can't say it normally anymore. I'm corrupted. The sixth thing that you can now do in Football Manager is still get caught up in stupidity. You knew one of these had to be that. Now, this boils down to dynamics. Now, this is with the club and with the players. And look, this is all fun and games. I enjoy tomfoolery as much as the next person, but as an example, I am doing a journeyman in my current Twitch save, which if you're missing out on, it's been described as Martin Scorsese's best work when it comes to Twitch. That was the title of the New York Times last week. But anyways, I got a new job with Orlando Pirates, and I took the job, and a couple of days after I took the job, I was told by the board that I had failed to meet expectations in the African Champions League, which Understandable. Except for one fact.
I'm not in that.
We hadn't qualified for it. I coached 0 matches in it. It was the off season and we were turning over to a new season and I was told that I had failed. And that was not the only time that the board has had kind of a weird reaction to something that I've done. They'd say I'd fail things when I hadn't. Like, we failed multiple things before actually managing a match, which was fun. There was also the situation if you gave one team talk that didn't particularly resonate, that your entire locker room would mutiny over your ability to handle team talks. Now, to their credit, Football Manager did post an update that seems to have legislated most of this out of existence, or I just got a lot better at team talks overnight, you know what I'm saying? That's the more likely answer. You still have to tread incredibly carefully when it comes to those sorts of interactions and to promises as well. I ran into one promise where I played a guy at left back once and center back 14 times, and he insisted the promise to play him at center back had been broken, which, like, technically, but let's be honest for a second. As a result, you still should play the game with the editor on if you own it to be able to fix these sorts of issues. The 7th thing that you can now do in Football Manager, you can enjoy a luxurious, a sumptuous, a scintillating knee slide. That's right, you can now knee slide. I've been playing this game for a couple of seasons now, and I've only seen a nice, luxurious grass trimming glide one time, and it was when we were winning 7-0. So I think they've got it right. I think that knee slides are happening at exactly the right time. I mean, look at this. You score the goal to go up 7-0, and you just unleash that upon the world. Look at the bend, look at the glide, look at the random position on the field at which he has chosen to partake in this knee slide after scoring a 7th goal in the match. There is no point to this, and I love it so much. The 8th thing you can now do in Football Manager, slightly less cool than a knee slide, but you can set a target for a player. This is, in some ways, the antidote to the issue I was describing a couple of points ago, because if you do run into a problem with a player, you can propose a target as a way out instead of reasoning with them or just giving in. And as is clear, I haven't used them very much, but in my defense, in South Africa, there isn't a lot of loaning going on. I feel like this would be a great tool for when you loan out players, you can set a target for them. Hey, I won't loan you out next year and you'll play if you do this. It also comes in handy when players complain about playing time. You say, okay, I'll play you in the next couple matches. If you don't get this rating, you can't complain about playing time anymore. Very practical, real life sort of thing that's now in the game. You can set those targets and live with the consequences with your players. And now the 9th thing that you can now do on Football Manager, you can very easily run a variety of set piece routines with varying frequency. Now this gets me hot and bothered. I can't even talk about this for more than 10 minutes. I have been begging for set piece reform since the first YouTube video I ever made. They finally dropped it this year, and it is actually so good. Now, if you go to set pieces and you go to attack, you can see I have 3 different routines. I've created a near post, a far post, and a short corner routine. If I click the drop down, I can modify routine frequencies. So I can have one routine be more often, one routine occur an average amount, and one routine be less often. So my short corner is the least often, and I see a little representation of how often that routine is going to be executed. Obviously, I'd love more control over the exact frequency, and I'd love more routine slots, but considering the stone age that set pieces were in before, the ability to do this, which is an incredibly lifelike and realistic thing that managers all over the world are doing, is fantastic. And I've got to go take a walk. I got to go take a cold shower. And the 10th thing that you can now do in Football Manager, you can understand why a team is interested but not making an offer. Back to Football Manager, even last year, you would see a bunch of teams interested, but there would be no information as to why they're not making an offer or how they feel about the player. Let's go to my old taunt and save. I've played one more year while we were traveling, and let's find a player that has a ton of interest. Hugo Correa. 14 teams. So if I click on the transfer status, it tells me that most of them are reluctant to make an offer when the price is so high, so they're interested in a loan instead, or they're interested just in a transfer, but they're reluctant to make an offer while the price is so high. Or they're just looking to generate funds to make an offer because currently they lack the financial power to get a deal done at the price that's currently set. So in this situation, I can try and wait it out at my asking price of $55 million, or I can lower it if I want to get a deal done now. But since it's August 7th, I'll probably wait a little bit. And the information doesn't just have to do with funds. On Andres Mora, there's would strengthen the team's starting 11, and it also kind of looks like they have the money. So they're definitely mulling over making a bid, while Milan is not willing to make an offer while prioritizing other positions. So this isn't the most important thing on the transfer market for them, but they still could make an offer in the future, and they probably have the money to afford Andres Mora. Like, that is incredibly useful information that you can look at, and instead of getting frustrated that all these teams are interested but not making an offer, you go, oh yeah, I understand their position. But those are the new things you can experience in Football Manager this year. If you want to know my full thoughts on the game, there's that video for you to check out. And if you enjoyed this one, please do subscribe. I'll see you on stream. I don't know what I'm doing. We're just moving. We're just feeling the rhythm of life, you know? Just getting down, getting funky.